Hello, welcome to the Premier Show. It's me, Chris Pratt, back from holiday, which I'm sure is upsetting everyone. I'm joined by Matt, I'm joined by Kev, and I'm joined by Kev now. So, all in all, we're doing really well. How are we all?
Not too bad, Chris. I don't know if your mic is needs to be plugged in or something. Coming across a bit ropey. I'm not sure. People in the chat can let you know if your sound is all right.
Yeah,
it's an old mic. I probably need a new one, to be fair. Is that better?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, much.
Yeah, there we go. Good. Anyway, Matt, how are we? We haven't done a show for ages.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you. We're right back into the thick of things now, so It's good. It's nice having a little bit of time to process things. You know, doing the instant match reaction shows, you've got like 10 minutes to get your thoughts together, and so it's nice to have a couple of days to think back on the whole weekend. So these are fun shows.
Yeah, for us. Mr. O'Sullivan, how are we?
Not too bad. I owe everyone in the chat an apology because everyone in the chat was absolutely right on the McAllister red card, and I was completely 100% wrong. But I refer back to Matt's point. That we literally had 5 minutes from the end of the match to going live. I saw 2 replays, and I got it horrendously wrong. And everyone in the chat got it right.
It won't be the last time you get something wrong in this show. Trust me.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Let's be honest.
It's been a day, mate. Let's be fair. And Kev, apart from down from bronchitis, how are we?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, for anyone on the show, if I have to take a break, I apologise. But I'm all good. I'm just happy the football's back. To be honest, I've been kind of itching for it for a while now. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the football.
I could be perfectly honest. I could have gone another couple of weeks.
Oh no!
Me and Matt were having this conversation. He looked forward to it. No, I can't be bothered. That's kind of how I felt. I could do another couple of weeks. I'd be fine.
I think when it comes down, when Europe starts, we get this block of 4 games out of the way. Have the international football come back. European draw happens, and you're going 2 games a week, 3 games a week until Christmas. The nights start getting a bit darker, and then it starts feeling real.
Thursday night start getting busy for us, Kev.
Oh yeah, every Thursday night serve. What was it?
I've still got.
He several years ago.
I know. I've still got. We never got that side who've got a train track going down the side of the stadium. So you have a train going across your line of sight when you watch it.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
They got demolished in the early qualifying rounds in the Europa League.
But to be fair, if you're going to go Europa, go full Europa, proper random stadium. That's what you want. Anyway, we'll see what we get. So we'll have to talk about it because it's broke today. So we'll do about 10 minutes on it, and then because I don't think anything's going to come with it. Mo Salah, according to certain reports, is really wanted by the Saudi Pro League. Who knew? Apparently, depending who you read, Mo wouldn't mind going, but he's not going to push for it. His agent allegedly has been offered a king's ransom to push it. Matt kind of feels like if you really wanted Mo Salah, you probably should have gone early in the summer because there's no way Liverpool are going to be able to find any sort of replacement now. I also don't think there's an appetite for Liverpool to sell. The next time I'm going to get Mo Salah is probably next summer, but even then, Kev thinks he's going to go. I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced either. It's the timing of it all. Just I can't believe it just simply because of the timing. You don't make a snap decision to try to get Mo Salah.
It's almost like we're playing somebody who's got Saudi links. So
yeah.
I may have got that wrong. Maybe we aren't. But anyway, sorry.
I said that same sort of idea about the mooted Luis Diaz to Al Ittihad transfer rumors that were around, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. The days are all just blending together in this silly window. But I said at the time that it just feels like Newcastle just trying to unsettle the clubs. So all it takes is somebody with a relative connection to any of these teams to just send a DM to a Fabrizio Romano or whoever, and all of a sudden there's a story that's there. So I don't think it's going to happen. To me, if it was going to happen, it would have been a much more concerted effort by whichever club it was going to be, and it would have happened, in my opinion, immediately on the heels of Lionel Messi turning them down. When they offered Messi that huge money to get the GOAT, to get the best player that's ever played, the best player in the world for the last 18 years or whatever it's been. And when he turned them down to go to the MLS, if they would have shifted their attention right then and there of going and getting Mo Salah and being like, okay, we didn't get that superstar, we're going after another superstar. But with 7, thankfully, only days left in the window, it's not going to happen. And I don't think
Can they really do that though? Didn't they bring Benzema in, who obviously just come back off the back of the Ballon d'Or? I think that's kind of what they done.
Yeah, but I read something else the other day. Sorry, heard another podcast the other day. The club that want Mo Salah, Saudi Arabia probably has a rule about you're only allowed 8 non-Saudi players in your squad, and apparently they have 9 because they bought Jota from Celtic and they're trying to sell him now because they bought him. Some and went, shit, we can't actually play him now because we've got too many non-Saudi players. We actually need to move. So they actually need to get rid of one now. So they've also sort of gone, if you really want Mo Salah, you kind of wouldn't have filled your stock up. Now listen, they could just go and sell the other fella. I get that, but it all just feels a bit like I don't know what you think, Mr. Russell. That just feels a bit like unsettling bullshit, and we'll deal with this properly next summer.
All this talk is literally keeping the Saudi League in the European papers. It's keeping every team the notion that they can reach into any European club and take the best players anytime they want. Which, if the numbers are big enough, they can. It doesn't matter who you are at any club in Europe. If the number is big enough, the selling club, i.e. Liverpool in this case, will have to entertain the offer. They don't have to accept it by any means, but they're going to have to look at it. And the idea that you can look at a player who's 31 years of age, who's plateaued at Liverpool, he's not going to improve, with 2 years left in his contract, and suddenly you're offered the bones of, throw a figure. What figure is something that could tempt Liverpool? 250 million? Man City earned 290 million to win the treble. So money is no object to these people. And if they want a player, they'll get it. The thing is, Mo Salah is the biggest attraction, the biggest player in the Muslim world, in the Arab world. He is, without doubt, the biggest star in the world, as far as they're concerned. If they wanted him to be the marquee player for their league, they'd have made a bigger effort, as you said earlier on. I don't think Liverpool will be in a position to sell him this summer. That's the truth. But I honestly think next summer, with a year left to go on his contract, you have to look at it how Spurs looked at King, because in the 12 months after, if he doesn't extend, you have to replace him for nothing if he walks. So I think next summer there's going to be a discussion that will have to happen around whether you cash in on Mo and use that money to try to replace him. You're not replacing him with one player. There isn't one player out in the market at the moment. Unless someone evolves or develops over the next 12 months into being some banger right winger who's banging in 25, 30 goals somewhere, you're not replacing him with one player. So you have to plan replacing him. But at the same time, I think next summer you're going to have to entertain a legitimate offer that will come for him. No doubt in my mind.
Also, if you say look about Liverpool's current ownership, and look, people have different opinions and all that, they need Champions League money. So they want Mo Salah this year to get them in the Champions League. And then the discussion is next summer. I think the discussion next summer will be, Mo, sign an extension or you're fucking off. I think that's what it'll be. I don't think they want him to go on a free. So it'll be sign an extension or we're just going to sell you to whoever. And I think that's probably the conversation you'll see in next year. But FIFA Kev, I'll have to call you FIFA Kev, otherwise Mr. Russell will get rid of
If you give me 1 sec, there's just one thing. Archie asked me a straight question there. Salah out, Mbappe in this week, yes or no? No. Purely and simply, and I think Mbappe is a fantastic footballer. Don't get me wrong. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But you're having this conversation about Mo Salah. You're having this about
Mbappe
every window. Every window.
That's never happening.
But exactly, he'll be pimping himself to Madrid at every opportunity. You don't need that in your club. You really don't. Yeah. And he's a fantastic player as he is. There is just absolutely no. I'd rather go for Kvaradona than go for an Mbappe. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and Dicker points out the Saudi transfer window closes 3 weeks after ours. But again, I don't think if the Saudi League want big name players, they're going to have to do it before the European window closes, because you can't see European clubs selling really big players and then going, oh fuck, I'll go sit till January with this money in my pocket. They're not.
That's why you don't put release clauses in your contract. If you're going to have staggered windows like this with a league with unlimited funds for player transfers, can you imagine if Mo Salah had a £150 million release clause, and on the 3rd of September they activate it, and you literally can't say no if the player wants to leave? So that's
why a lot of clubs don't do it, because look what happens about the whole of Barcelona falling over started with someone actually paid the mad release clause for Neymar, which no one ever thought they would, and the whole cascade effect happened there. Someone's put Pedro Neto as Salah replacements. Not really, because he only plays about 3 games a season because he's got no knees, and he doesn't bang goals. He doesn't bang goals.
I need alcohol to have that conversation.
But the other thing is, I know what you're saying, Kev. We'll bring FIFA Kevin there. He may be 30. He's 31. He's going to be 32 then. So you don't really see his goals drying up, and he's already tailoring his game where he's not blistering pace all the time. So he's adapting his game. I generally think, like you said, Kev, if he goes, which I think if he does go, it'll be at least next summer, you need 2 or 3. I think he actually changed his style of play, because you need 2 or 3 players to replace those numbers, big numbers. Well, FIFA Kev, how are you seeing this?
I think I'm fairly on other Kev's point of view, that I think there's no way it happens now. No, like you said, you guys need the Champions League money. I think he still would fancy himself for at least another year to be good enough to really be at his peak. But I think I also kind of agree with you, Chris. It will either be you either extend or you leave from Liverpool's point of view. And I think Salah will go, and I think he'll go there. Mainly just because I think I might be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, he's a very religious Muslim. And I think he would look at moving to a Muslim country as obviously a big positive. And I think if he's getting offered like Ronaldo money to go to Saudi, he's getting offered, I think I saw he's getting offered £375,000 a day. So if he's getting offered anywhere near that, it just seems like an absolute no-brainer. So for me, I think he goes next year. I think, especially if you don't get top 4 this year.
Matt, stop causing mischief in the chat, Matt. I can see you there. But whatever you do, don't take rough pens this month.
I think that's a very legitimate point. At this point, don't rock the boat at all. I mean, the last thing we want is an unhappy player. So
can I take pens off your crack, Mo? Don't worry. Wait. But, after the Villa game, Mo, you're done now. Anyway, that's enough Salah chat now. So let's look at last weekend. I don't think much happened last weekend. I think officiating was good. VAR was consistent. And of course it wasn't. So, Matt, we had the first another VAR controversy. I think what we have to start doing is we're going to talk about this every week. Should we just do like a ranking scale of how much of a bollocks they made of this?
It's a 10.
Because we had the apology to Wolves for a non-penalty in the Man United game. Now we've had an official who's seen something wrong. Our friend Mr. Tierney saw 5 replays of it and went, "Yeah, looks sound to me." And literally the next day, everyone went, "Yeah, it's going to rescind it." And then you had the Wirrell's finest on Sky saying, "Yeah, it's a definite red card. There's no problem with that being a red card." It's just like going, Jesus wept. Technology only as good as the Muppets that use it. I think the frustration was, and as FIFA Kev knows, I have no love for Man United at all. But in the first 15 minutes of the Spurs game, Porro goes through Bruno Fernandes below his knee. And if Bruno Fernandes' leg is planted, he breaks his leg. Yeah. And he doesn't even get a free kick, let alone a red card. He doesn't get a free kick.
That one was awful. And it was the pen as well. Like, if this is a natural position these days, then I don't know what is going on there.
Well, we look at Chelsea game. That's a natural position as well, so don't worry.
Yeah, they're just so inconsistent. Like I said, I thought it was a pen. Like first Wolves, I couldn't believe it. Like it didn't get given. And then I was getting like tons of abuse online about it. And then once that happened in the Tottenham game, I was like, well, no one can talk to me. Like if that ain't a pen for handball, I don't know what is. So I think everyone's just completely fed up with it at this point.
Yeah, and then Matt, we saw Bruno Guimaraes do the exact same foul in the City game. Free kick, yellow card, and everyone went, but everyone's going to struggle, yeah. And the McAllister one, we all went, it's a foul. And I always think you could tell with a red card how the opposition players react. It wasn't if it's a nasty tackle, like a red card tackle, footballers, they natural crowd the ref. That's outrageous. Try and kill him. Try and punch him. Because it's a bad tackle. Most of it was like, hey, it's a free kick that, and that's it. And you can see the ball players that saw the red all going, hell. I think they all thought their own player had been sent off first.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. Like Mike Dean must have been when he woke up the following morning and he saw that he was the only person that was still towing the line, that it was a red card, that all the other pundits and ex-pros and ex-referees, everybody, that got a chance to look at it and think about it for a second, came to the conclusion that it should never have been a red card. Like, he must have either felt like a total fool or an absolute mad genius. But yeah, it's like, having seen the other two tackles, McAllister's is the most yellow out of those three tackles. I mean, it was the least deserving of a sending off. They at least got the Pickford incident right. I want to make sure we don't gloss over that, because it was one of the highlights of the entire weekend's actions for me. But they did get that right, giving a penalty away. They didn't have a chance to talk that back. But yeah, it was just wrong. Like, doing the match reaction, Kev and I, like, when I first saw it live in the game, I wrote in my notes, it's not even a yellow card. And then you see one replay and you're like, oh shit, yeah, well, it's definitely a yellow card, but I guess I can kind of see why it's a red. And then you hear like, oh yeah, no, his studs are up, and then you see one still image and it's like, oh boy, that looks bad. And then you go on, you do a show, and you kind of talk yourself down from the ledge because you don't want to be screaming and hollering too much about, how Liverpool have been robbed by the referees once again. But it's just not a red card. And I don't know how the PGMOL fixes this, because that's what VAR is there for. It's totally understandable how the referee in the moment makes that call. He's close, the feet come together. Yeah.
Yeah, you get it wrong. It's not the on-field official you really have it. Blame still going, because I think I put to Kev in the chat is if McAllister's half a second earlier, so he gets the ball first, the ball player is going to hit him with the exact same tackle. Is he going to send the ball player off for that? No. And if he did, we'd all go, it's a foul. It's not a red card. It's just a foul. They are allowed. But Mr. O'Sullivan, I don't know what you think. The one thing I think they've got to get rid of with this VAR thing, apart from officials like Paul Tierney, because he's shit, is stop slowing it down. Stop going to watch what replay you want. Watch it real time, because real time you see if there is force behind the tackle, if there is an intent. Every tackle looks horrendous in slow motion. You can make any tackle look horrendous if you do it in slow motion.
I don't mind the slowing stuff down if it's to identify who did what when it's close, especially in the box. That was the first red card that we've had rescinded in 20 years.
Wow.
It's been 20 years since we've had a red card rescinded. It doesn't happen often. And that's why everyone, and you could tell because everyone online, when 6 o'clock came on I think it was the Tuesday night, and it just broke, McAllister's red card has been rescinded. We were literally all in WhatsApp groups. I can't believe it.
I told you, you thought I was winding you up. He said, you thought I've had a black account. You thought I've had a black account.
And it's like I said on the post match, the match referee sees it once in a split second. It was his first time refereeing at Anfield, as far as I know. He was caught up in the moment and he got caught out. He didn't see what he thought he saw. It was horrendous by the VAR that he didn't say to him. And one of the best things I've seen out of this last weekend, was on Ref Watch, and Steve Warnock went in on the whole process by saying you have to get rid of this notion of clear and obvious. It's a nonsense. It's literally 3 words put together to elicit a response. It's a joke. Is the decision right? Yes or no? Is it wrong? Yes or no? If it's wrong, fix it. It's that simple. I don't want to re-referee the game. Bullshit. VAR re-referees the game all the time. They're checking every goal to make sure that there isn't a foul in it. It's being re-refereed anyway. So call it what it is and communicate it properly.
I mean, we're the only league in Europe that's still drawing fucking lines for offsides, whereas all those now using the semi-automatic thing, which is quicker and visually easy to see where you go, oh, that part of his body is onside. Okay, fair enough. That's all you need.
They have to be dragged kicking and screaming into making changes. I hate this idea that and they've talked about the McAllister penalty now into being almost a dive. It's like
Szoboszlai, you mean?
He cut Szoboszlai, yeah. Szoboszlai caught him on a chop back, and the defender put a lazy leg out. He won the penalty.
Robert Perez made a career out of doing that.
Yeah, Sadio Mane made a career out of that.
It's still a penalty.
You know what I mean? It's a penalty all day long. If that happens in the middle of the box and two midfielders come together like that and he prevents a counter-attack, it's a booking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't get it. And the thing is, labels stick in this league. I mean, the amount of fouls that Salah should get in the box because of his close control and he's like quick dribbles. And he never gets them because the impression is that he's a diver. And that impression came 2-3 years ago when, it's a soft penalty. It's a soft penalty. No, he's not got an obligation to stay on his feet. If the defenders are stupid enough to put their legs in where it shouldn't be, and the player goes over, that's on the player.
It's the same with us with Bruno. It's the same with us with Bruno and Rashford. From our last full season under Ollie, when I think we had a ridiculous amount of pens. And then now people can just take chunks out of both of them, and we don't even get fouls for it. The main one I wanted to talk about as well, because I don't get it, is the Tomiyasu red card. I don't, for one, time wasting doesn't make sense. I get how it's like, all right, well, he was the last one in a spell of it. All right, whatever. The second yellow's not. Sorry,
when he pulls him back.
Yeah, but he doesn't touch him. He basically goes like that, and he drops like. And
I think the ref got caught up in it, but I was all right with the first yellow because I must admit, I'm all for pushing the rules out with it. But I mean, honestly, they threw it about 7 blokes before he actually took the throw.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, Tomiyasu, out of everyone there, wasn't the one who deserved that yellow card. Like, if you watch him for the 7 seconds he has the ball in his hand, he's looking for people trying to throw the ball. It's Havertz who stood there for 20 seconds, basically juggling the thing, doing nothing. So I didn't get that anyway. Yeah. But then also, this thing. Go on, sorry.
Didn't Trent get booked for us, Matt, at 1-1?
Yeah, yes.
He's looking for a throw and he goes, time wasted. And they're going, it's 1-1 at home against a side who will be mid-table. Why would you be time wasting? And we didn't. Do you know what I mean? Also, the common sense say it doesn't make sense that in that scenario to time waste.
It makes no sense. And also, this rule that with VAR that we can't look at stuff that's not that's a yellow card. Like, apparently you can't look at yellow cards. How does that even? I don't
think you want them to look at yellow cards. I think that opens a Pandora's box of.
I think if it's a yellow,
this that leads to a red.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think if it goes to that point, there needs to be a way of because that was horrific. That was a clear dive from Ayew, in my opinion. He hasn't touched him really at all. I couldn't believe.
The only thing I'd say with the two major VAR decisions of the weekend, I think the Tomiyasu one was one of the major ones, and the McAllister one. It didn't cost either side points, and it should have. Bournemouth should have done better against 10 men because it was 2-1 at the time. They should have done better. They had a decent game for 20-25 minutes in that game.
We had a Palace that cost us. We should have had a pen.
That's it.
With them standing there like that, we should have been 1-0 up after about half hour. And
it's a different game.
It's a completely different game. And it's just the inconsistency of all of it is just, it's so frustrating as a fan.
I think it's almost going to be like an open. I think it's going to be an open conversation now for the whole season until they come together and they have to come together with the captains and with the managers and work out the best way of implementing this. I get where Chris is coming from on the time wasting, but I remember Klopp after the first, I think it was a post-match he did after the first game, and he was asked about the Trent with his throw-ins. Those throw-ins are designed we don't turn the ball over. We rarely turn the ball over on our throw-ins in our own half because they take the extra 5 seconds, 10 seconds to work a good space to get the ball across the pitch and go on a counter-attack. That takes time to move players around. If you want to stop that, then it's really going to become a disadvantage to have a throw in your own half because the sides will press the living daylights out of you. And if you only got 5 or 6 seconds to take the throw, your options are limited at best anyway. So the odds of getting turned over when it's supposed to be your advantage. If you have to throw, it's supposed to be your advantage. So I don't know how they're going to have to work it. They're going to have to do
for the Arsenal one. I get why there should have been a yellow. Just the yellow shouldn't have been for Tomiyasu. They basically held the ball at that part of the pitch for about a minute, but Tomiyasu had only had it for 7 seconds, and he was trying to throw the ball. That's what I don't get. And I get, all right, he's the last one who's holding it, so he's the one who gets it. But it just doesn't seem. It just doesn't.
It's very schoolyard stuff, isn't it? It's like, you're the one who was caught with the thing in your hand. You're a guilty one. Yeah, the rest of them aren't guilty. They're just guilty by association. It's your mates who got you in the shit.
It's always that innocent kid that gets peer pressured into having the smoke behind the school, and that's when the teacher comes around the corners when the kid that
everyone else is looking around like, well, me.
But I mean, it's unfortunate that Tomiyasu picks up that yellow card. But again, I'm going to keep saying it until I change my mind, and then I'll stop saying it. I love the yellow cards for time wasting and dissent. I absolutely love it. I don't know how Thomas Partey and I believe Odegaard both didn't see yellow cards for an extended Marcel Marceau session in their game with the yellow cards up like this. I'm all for that. Unfortunate that Tomiyasu, it would have been great if the ref went over and yellow carded all of those Arsenal players that played throw in. No. Let's get rid of that.
It'll be interesting with Liverpool go to Newcastle because Newcastle were notorious last year for time wasting. Newcastle fans don't like to be told this, but we remember the game. The Carvalho 99-minute winner, which is still glorious because it just pissed everyone off. But that was outrageously over the top time wasting, if you know what I mean. So,
I mean that was a goal in 9 minutes of added on time before the new rules. So I mean we could get 25 minutes against Newcastle on the weekend.
We'll still be playing on Monday in St. James's Park.
Look, I mean, I'm sure this time next week we'll be talking about more referee decisions, 100%.
But let's have a look at the last weekend's results in terms of Bournemouth Brighton keep on winning.
8 goals scored.
8 goals scored. Caveat that there are teams you would expect them to beat, but they're beating them. Look, you could have beat us in front of that, and they're beating them in a very, very convincing manner. Fun to watch. Wolves, not really sure where they are at the moment. Newcastle, I kind of felt got beaten second gear by City. I know it was only 1-0, but I kind of felt once City went 1-0 up, they just kind of kept Newcastle enough for arm's length to not hurt them. And I think that was a strategy for City due to the fact they already played the Super Cup 48 hours here.
I just don't think City actually were that convincing. I don't think that was even necessarily their second gear. I just don't think they looked that good. They didn't look good against Burnley either. Or in the Super Cup. I haven't seen a good performance out of them this season, actually.
No,
I think it's how City have played for the last 2-3 years.
I'm not saying.
I think it's the old Fergie way, which is it's a really slow start, take along, and then in November they kick into gear, and everyone goes, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I'm not saying alarm bells, City are done.
No, I know what you mean.
They just, I don't think it was a thing of all right, we'll chill out. I think it was a thing of just I think that's about as good as they've got in them at the moment. But once we get halfway through the season, they'll go and win 15 in a row, and I'll go cry in a corner. So that's the way it works.
Sunday, Matt, was an interesting day. Our Blue Friends got destroyed by Villa. Please, if you've not seen it, the James Tarkowski post-match show is 12 interview is.
I haven't seen it. So
it was along the lines of it could have been worse because we didn't get beat by 5. They got beat by 5 last week, and they've won by 4 this week. So we could do that next week. It was along those lines. You sort of thinking, fuck me, mate. That's an interesting tactic. I probably wouldn't have gone with that for a post-match interview.
I still haven't even scored a goal.
They're playing Wolves.
5.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 games in it. And that
they're in the mud.
Yeah,
they're in the
Should be
mud
a
with this.
horrific
What happened? Everton are really in trouble. They had their preferred bidder that was going to come in and take a 25% share of the club, and they're in dire need of investment. It looks like Damari Gray is the latest one who's going to get his move. I mean, Chris, you're right there. It's
nearby.
Well, yeah, but it's they must be getting really nervous now because they've diced with the drop for the last 2 seasons, and it's pure dumb luck that they didn't go down. Let's be truthful. They must be seriously worried now. The
Blues I know are either it's a bit like Gallo humor of like, well, it is what it is, or they're not even angry. That it's almost like they're resigned to it, going like, we're crap. Look what we've got. We're crap. What do you expect? We've just been a relegation battle here. I think they're just like, we just got to hope Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United are shit. That's kind of how they're residing.
Yeah,
they feel to me like Sunderland of a few years ago, where they just circled around the bottom for about 2-3 years and then went. Last 2-3 years, they've all started away out of it, but they just feel like that permanently going to be in a relegation battle until they get. That club just needs a bit of a restructure completely.
I don't think it's that bad. I think they kind of remind me more of like what West Ham were when they were transitioning from their stadium, because I know they're moving into a new one, aren't they, soon? I think.
I feel like the current owner they've got is. I feel like the current owner they've got has more of the Ellis Shores about him when he was at Sunderland, which is Bashiri's put money into a point, but ever since the Usmanov links weren't allowed anymore because of the off-field reasons why he's not allowed, they aren't spending much money. It is.
Yeah, but I think that's partly because of the stadium, though.
No,
possibly.
No, it's not. It's more to do with the amount. They're in a very similar situation to what Manchester United are in at the moment. Years of bad transfer policy and overpaying on wages has literally, and not enough coming in terms of sponsorship, prize money from being in the league where they are. They physically cannot go and invest any more money without breaching FFP. Manchester United are in a very similar boat. Manchester United, we'll get on to Manchester United in a minute and what Kev thinks they need, but they've spent badly for years. Everton have spent badly for years, and they just don't have the headroom now to be able to rectify anything. And they're dependent now on potluck signings. That someone like what Rafa did with Damari Gray, turning a 1-point-something million pound player into a 15 million pound player and selling them and try to grow that way.
I think the few that they brought in look good. Like they're good players, I think.
I think Onana's a good player.
Onana's a good player. I think Jack Harrison will be a good player for him. I think Danjuma will be ready for it. I just look at them and I don't think they're one of the 3 worst teams in the league. I don't.
I think their problem is more mental than anything else. I just think that I don't think they have the capability to score enough goals, first and foremost. And they look like they couldn't keep a clean sheet to save their life. And that's not a good combination when you're coming to the end of a transfer window. And
I think you could say that about. I think you could say that about 6 or 7 teams, though. You
could do, but they've been doing it now for the last 3 years. And exactly as Rico said there, October 2025 FFP ruling will decide where Everton go. They'll
have to be careful.
They could be the Wigan boys, yeah.
But they have to be careful about the Premier League because do you know if Everton say got a points deduction? Just say they get a points deduction.
If they do that, they're gone.
If I'm the 3 lads who got relegated last year, you're suing the Premier League because you're going, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
It was last year they breached the rules and they stayed up. That points deduction would have kept us up. Generally, someone like a Leeds would be all over that, and they should be because that decision should have been made and signed off before the season was ended. And
I think that's the whole point of the new rules. The new rules that they've got coming in now, that's from this season on. Anything like this that happens in the future, it has to be sorted out by the end of
that season.
Not at the end of the season, but by the time the fixture list comes out for the following season.
Right.
There is a cutoff date where things like this have to be addressed and fixed and sorted out and punishments handed out. And it's only fair. It's like, again, the Premier League dragging their heels. You saw it with clubs in Italy when points deductions for Juventus, I think it was, that needed to be handed down, and they were just done.
Yeah.
No messing.
Oh, do you want to hear the latest transfer gossip? Latest rumour. Apparently, it's going to break soon, apparently. But Chelsea are after Darwin Núñez. I'd just be like, he's just throw shit at a wall and see which one sticks. I can't see why Liverpool would sell a striker. It feels to me like which Liverpool player's not playing alone? Darwin Núñez. Let's just throw that name out. Did they call it? Was it go for a flyer? So I can't see that one happening.
Eventually, someone is going to hit on a good one, and he'll be able to say, "I told you so."
But that's an exclusive. Then the other 27 are wrong. But that's the game, isn't it? So what's to say?
It's the way it works. That's it. Especially with the way the new Twitter has gone with engagements for money. So,
well, the last game we'll talk about before we talk about.
No, I want some Everton time. You skip right the hell over me. I'm sorry, but Jordan Pickford giving away a penalty, taking a yellow card for time wasting, and then conceding the penalty is some of the sweetest justice in the entire world for him. And Kev, I think you hit the nail on the head. I didn't have Everton to go down this season. I thought there would be 3 worse teams than Everton in the league this year. And having watched them twice now and watched a lot of the other teams that are going to be skirting around that bottom twice, I'm not so sure anymore. Because Sean Dyche builds his team on having a strong defense, and that Everton defense is not good. It's not. There's going to be a lot of teams that struggle to score goals this year because there's a lot of teams that are really lacking for a striker. Like the number of teams that would die to have Dominic Solanke or Taiwo Awoniyi on their team. Like both those players would fit great on Everton. So goals are going to be an issue like they always are. But you can stay up if you have decent defense, and they just don't. Like,
did you see the state of Calvert-Lewin's face after that whack as well?
He needs to learn like a forward defense or something.
It's like he grew another face. Honestly, God, it was such a whack. I mean, that feels like that could be a little while out for him and for him that's unfortunate because it is just one of those unfortunate clashes that you get. But look, the other big result while we're talking about Chelsea is they got humbled by West Ham. West Ham were worth the win. They rode the storm. You sign 2 players for over £200 million. One can't kick a penalty, and the other one gives a penalty away. All in all, cracking midfield. That really, we all happy with that. I must admit, it's the best debut you've ever seen. You
take the joy where you can get it, don't you? Because look, Muz Caicedo's an excellent player.
Yeah,
he's an excellent player.
It'll be boss in a few weeks. It'll be boss in a few weeks time, but I must say it was funny though. You can't deny it.
The thing is, I didn't realize Enzo Fernandez, since he's signed for Chelsea, has only had one win.
Yeah,
one game in the league.
Do you know, since Tom Bowley's took over, they have more signings than wins.
Yeah,
but there are more signings than most things.
Probably, yeah. But not goals.
But you got to look at Chelsea, right? I mean, they've signed another guy today, Washington from Brazil, 18-year-old kid, 17. I was going to say a 17-year contract. No, a 7-year contract with an option of another one. 17 million pounds. And it's literally a case of, Matt, we talked about it last week. They're taking the American sports model of buying up top young talent, and literally handing them to the coach and saying, here, fix that. And Pochettino I think Pochettino is an excellent manager. I do. I think if he's given time and patience by a club that has legendary, doesn't have it, and has never given it to any manager, I think eventually he will build a squad capable of doing something. But at the minute, you're looking at the possibility of no striker by the end of the window that they can build a side around. 3 defensive midfield players that they brought in without an ounce of creativity. That you have to be honest. Mason Mount was their creative outlet in midfield, and they've got rid of him, not replaced the creative players that they did have from centre of the park. They've got wingers for days.
And they've got a club captain who can't stay fit.
Exactly. It's just an absolute mess. And I've given up on the idea that they're going to be punished financially, because it's not a case that FFP isn't fit for purpose. It's just they've basically built into their model the fact that no matter what FFP do to them, they'll absorb the cost of it. If it's a £50 million fine, they'll just absorb it and say, okay, that's a part and parcel of trying to grow quickly.
The way they work,
rather than grow organically.
Sorry.
If you're going to do an FFP punishment in the world of Premier League and top level and the top tiers of all the leagues, fines do fuck all. No. The only way you hurt them is going to be things like gates behind closed doors because we all know with rich people, if it costs them money, they pay attention.
It's not even that. I think it has to be points.
Point deductions, exclusions from competitions, those sort of things where they go, but if we lose 10 points, we won't qualify for Europe. That's a lot of money I can't afford to have. And then you play them, and then you have to play by the rules. Whether you like FFP or not, you all know the rules of engagement before you start. And if you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, then you take the punishment. It's quite simple. But FIFA Kev, let's talk Man United then. So Tottenham, not the result you wanted, but what's your sort of thoughts on recruitment you've had? Because Gary Neville, the voice of Man United, as he likes to proclaim, would say if you'd invested more money at 1-0 down, there'd be no issues. Roy Keane, who is not a fan of the owners, I think he's made that known, just says there's too many players not performing. There's enough quality in that side to be getting better performance than he thinks. And he, I think, rightly questioned, can you question some of the manager's tactics? You can question the owners to a point, but he's also set this side up, and these are players he's asked for. So does the manager also have to look at some of these things as well? I sort of feel the truth's somewhere in the middle.
Right, so I'll kind of deal with that in two parts. So the actual game, the result for me, it did and it didn't reflect kind of how the game went in terms of we should have had a pen within the first half hour. Bruno missed a header from 8 yards out, maybe, like on his own in the middle of the box. And Anthony hit the post from 15 yards out. We had 3 chances, which on another day would have been a goal, and we wouldn't have been in a losing position. To then what ended up happening in that second half was where we had to go and chase the game. Tottenham basically bided their time and then got another and killed the game. So, like, in terms of how the game ended up playing out, Tottenham deserved to win. But if we have that penalty, I think we go on and win that game, and I'm not really too stressed. Now, in terms of like how I feel about transfers and stuff, I think the main thing we need is probably a midfielder, especially if Mount's out for 4 to 6 weeks. And obviously we got rid of Fred, and Van der Beek's injured. Obviously Amrabat's the one that we've all wanted, and he's kind of just sitting there waiting because apparently we're dealing with some FFP stuff or something, I don't know. But he's the one I think we should bring in. And then in terms of like the manager's tactics, I don't really blame him in terms of if we look at like a lot of the breakdown stats in terms of we've created 32 chances, which is the second highest in the overall league outside of Brighton. And we have created the most big chances in the league alongside Brighton as well with 5. Yet we are the 3rd lowest scorers in the league. So I'm more lean towards the side of what Roy Keane said in terms of we have a lot of players who are not performing to the level that they should be playing at because the chances are being created, like the tactics are working. There was a few times in that Tottenham first half alone where you can see the press and we caught them and we should have made more of it. So for me, I'm not too worried about the manager or the tactics or anything. I think it's just a matter of people just need to play better. And that's kind of where I land on it, really.
Fair enough. Matt, how do you see things with Man United outside? Because we're the outside looking in, and obviously we don't proclaim to have any love for Man United. But there is this FFP issue, which is, it does sound like Man United need to actually, I think that this is why they're trying to, probably Maguire, like they don't think he's good enough, but so many they want to get rid. But it's as those players who turn around and said, I think Wan-Bissaka's in the room with one, who have all said, I've got a contract, mate, I'm happy to sit here and wait. And I think that's where, because let's be honest, if Man United wanted Amrabat, they could have got him first day of the window because they all know his release clause. They all know he's available. He's not, by football standards, remarkably expensive. But that's how tight they've left themselves. Is this them paying the price for other things?
Yeah, I believe there's a saying about lying in the bed that you've made for yourself, sort of thing. So, this is something that, this being a Liverpool channel, that some of the people that just throw out the just sign them, just pay them whatever they want, like with Caicedo, like, why are we not offering the same level of wages? Jude Bellingham, like, why aren't we offering the same level of wages to get this player? Because you start doing that and you end up in a situation like this. With Kev, you mentioned, it's kind of the same thing at Everton, just with slightly smaller sums. So, there's clearly something wrong with Manchester United from the first 2 games of the season. Albeit last year would have said the same thing, and then 3rd game of the season they beat us at Old Trafford. So, and then they go on an amazing run where Marcus Rashford was the darling of FPL for 3 or 4 months there. But like, it's a square pegs and round holes issue, but I see some parallels to how we started last season. Like, that first game against Wolves just screamed us against Fulham last year. And I mean, I reveled in it because I don't like Manchester United, but I imagine FIFA Kev, that might have been a little bit concerning for you. And like, I just want to ask you, you being the Man United guy, do you have concerns that Casemiro might have gone a bit Fabinho?
No,
Liverpool terms.
I don't. I think it's more at the moment. I think they're all trying to kind of get used to this new way we're pressing, especially since we brought in Mount for Eriksen. We're basically playing a lot more of a 1-to-1, like, man marking press, and it works in terms of catching people out. But I don't think Casemiro is quite used to it yet, because he's still getting a bit giddy. And I'd say that in terms of last year, it worked really well for us.
Ooh! I got to stop you there. You tried to man mark us at Anfield, and look how that went.
He got a couple. I'm not on about the man mark. I'm not saying the man mark went well for us. I'm saying he generally won the ball a lot. He caught teams out with how well he stepped up and took the ball off people. He can't do that as much in the way we're trying to play. He basically needs to sit a bit deeper, not be as jittery, and basically help defend that back line. And at the moment, he's still kind of, I think, finding his feet with trying to play this new way. And also, I think maybe he just needs someone who might be a bit more defensive, and maybe that'll be something of basically Mount or Bruno. Maybe have to be a bit more calmer and kind of trying to give him a bit of help. Or if we do bring in Amrabat, he obviously gives some help as well. But I'm not worried. I've seen this Man United team pretty much since I've grown up look shaky at the start of a season, and once we kind of play our way into it, we kind of, most of the time, we figure it out. So I'm not too stressed, especially when we are trying to play a new way, because I think Ten Hag's got the players that he wants. So I'm not too stressed yet. It's too early, and we played a Tottenham team that I actually think are pretty decent. I think they get probably a lot less credit than they're probably due. So I'm not too stressed. Oh,
that's good. That's good. I mean, Spurs is the other part of the equation. I mean, of course, we're all got our biases here, and Spurs might get forgotten about a bit. I think Spurs fans might get what they've claimed is all they wanted for years and years. I don't know a lot of Spurs fans, but I know the mantra is, I don't care if we win or lose, we just want to play exciting football. And I think they're going to get exactly that this year, because it looks like Ange has them set up to play pretty exciting attacking front foot football, but I don't think it's going to bear a lot of fruits.
But also, I think his demeanour compared to the previous 2-3 months ever, he's probably a bit of fresh air, isn't he? Honest,
bit modern,
bit more fun. This thing where Gary Neville saying, "Oh, they're copying Pep's inverted fullbacks." Within a 2-minute Google, Gary, you find that he's often played inverted fullbacks whenever.
And everyone does it anyway. Everyone does it.
It's just it's the lazy. Oh, copy Man City. Well, Man City weren't the first club to do it. They're not the last club to do it. Other clubs can play similar tactics.
Gary Neville, in a nutshell, being lazy with half the stuff he says. Listen, I love Gary Neville, the player, but half the stuff he says as a pundit, I don't agree with. So,
speaking of Gary Neville, love affair, Mr. O'Sullivan, your favourite person?
Yes, mate.
How do you see it?
I think Manchester United could have a Casemiro problem the longer the season goes on, with the type of midfielders that they have and the way they want to play. They have to get an Amrabat in there. You have to get someone with a defensive head on who sniffs danger and who's aware of problems before the problems happen. Mason Mount is not that player. Anthony is not. I would have thought by now, Ten Hag would have realised his mistake with Anthony. The fact that he's hung his hat on him for the amount of money that they've paid for him, it's almost a case of I've got to stick with him now to prove a point. And he doesn't fit. He's a square peg in a round hole where I think Mason Mount should be playing in that position. I don't understand the signing, the Højlund signing. I think that's it. That is 72 million for a kid who, if you'd have said to anyone in March, Manchester United are going to go out and spend 72 million pounds on a teenager, he is not the one you would be firing a name at. They'd have been looking at everywhere else. It wouldn't have been him. I think the amount of pressure this kid is going to be under to hit the ground running from the start is immense, because Rashford is very good from the left-hand side coming in. He's not a very good number 9. With his back to goal or being a centre forward, he's not very good at it. And he doesn't have the people behind him to provide him with the proper chances. You'll get half chances, and you'll, like Kev said, they've created chances, but you wouldn't say they're gilt-edged. That, you know, they should be doing that. He needs better service than what he's getting. That's why I think if he's playing off the left, Mason Mount is playing off the right. You put an Amrabat in with Casemiro, and you can play Bruno in a freer role. It's Højlund has to hit the ground running, score enough goals.
From everything,
I couldn't understand how Spurs were able to run through that midfield so easily. Bissouma was outstanding. But Spurs in that second half walked through that Manchester United midfield at ease whenever they wanted. And the Wolves game, Wolves were brilliant, and they deserved something out of that game. Man United poxed it. They absolutely fluked the 3 points, and you take them when they come your way, because it's the start of the season and you haven't played well. You get 3 points. But when you back that up with another poor 90 minutes, this weekend I think they're playing Nottingham Forest, and it's vital that they get. It's almost more important this weekend against the Nottingham Forest side, who will press the living daylights out of them as well. They have to put a performance in to build their confidence up, to say, okay, we've brushed the cobwebs off. Now we're going to go and attack the season. But they have to get this next transfer right, and I think they have to get one. I think they need to get one out, one big earner out, to be able to get him in.
From everything I've seen,
that means
Højlund weren't meant to be the only attacker. We were meant to bring in 2, and he was meant to be the second one. He was meant to be for the future, and we were meant to bring in someone else. We were meant to sell Maguire, we were meant to sell McTominay, we were meant to sell Van der Beek, we were meant to potentially be selling Wan-Bissaka or Dalot, I'm not sure what one. We were meant to be selling Martial, I think, and we were meant to potentially be selling Jadon Sancho as well. So I think it's more been a thing of, Ten Hag set out who his 3 players were to be basically priority for however long he planned on being there. And then there were players afterwards that were meant to come in. And basically the club have let him down by not selling these players. If you get a £30 million offer from West Ham for Scott McTominay, you bite their hand off and run in the other direction. You don't go back to him and ask for 45 million for Scott McTominay. So for me, I just kind of feel like there was meant to be other players to come in to kind of fill out the rest of the squad. That didn't happen, because I feel like we kind of got let down by who we got rid of.
But I think that's a larger problem is down to the money that's owed in loyalty payments. And I couldn't believe your man Williams, the young left back, he's gone on loan, I think, today to Norwich. Mm-hmm. And he's on 50 grand a week. Ipswich. Yeah. He's on 50 grand a week.
It's because he had a spell 3 or 4 years ago where
I know
he was really young and he was in the starting team. And I think we gave him a new contract because I think it was when Shaw was still coming back and we weren't sure. And I think they were looking at him and we kind of gave him a bit of a bigger contract, I think. But I did. Listen, Man, like that isn't crazy. Listen, for Man United, he's on the lower end. Man U are
exactly, but it typifies where the problem is. You saw it with Phil Jones,
horrific.
Yeah, it would have been like us giving Nico Williams $50,000 a week.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
I understood the logic when I was watching.
Nat Phillips 65.
I was watching, but I was watching a thing with Mika Richards when he said that Man City offered him $100,000 a week when he was like 19 or something, because they were so tight on their quota for homegrown players that they would rather pay him $100,000 a week, $5 million a year, than have to go and replace it.
Which is probably what we're doing.
But look, we only got a few minutes to go.
Well, it's what Liverpool are doing, Nat Phillips, let's be fair.
Yeah, there's a few breaking stories there tonight. There's one there now. Monaco reached a broad agreement for £40 million for Balogun. So and it looks like Tierney is off on loan to Real Sociedad as well. So that could free up some squad space for Arsenal to do some business this week.
Who's going to play left back for them on the weekend if Tomiyasu's suspended and Tierney's going out the door?
Zinchenko, he came off the bench.
Zinchenko's back, yeah.
Right.
Well, we were loosely linked with two players from Feyenoord today. Mats Wijfer is a holding midfield player, 23 years of age, Dutch international. Won the Eredivisie last year. Decent player for a reasonable fee. And the other one is David Hanko, we were linked with as well. Same club, Slovakian centre-back, left-sided, left-footed centre-back. But really highly rated, statistically brilliant in the Dutch league last year for Feyenoord. So keep an eye on those two loose links for the week and see what happens. But I think there's got to be an awful lot of business done this week around the league. There's some clubs out there have big holes in their squads that need filling. As much as anyone else.
Before we go, let's have a quick look at the sort of in and around the Premier League, because it feels like a summer where there's been an awful lot of talk, and then you've realised quite a few players haven't actually moved.
Yeah,
that you think would have moved. I mean, listen, generally there's some players at United I thought he'd sold. Like I thought that. Do you know what? I generally thought McTominay got sold 6 weeks ago, and then I saw him on the bench for United. I was like, oh, that's really gone.
No, West Ham went in for both of him and Maguire, and we accepted Maguire and asked for more for McTominay. So, I don't know why.
I think McTominay is the type of player that United should be keeping, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's a long season. I like him. I think he's a decent player.
I think he's a handy squad player to put in your rotation, especially when Europe kicks in. Yeah, I thought Martial had been sold ages ago.
No, yeah. But I wish they were.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeremy Doku to Man City went through tonight, £55.4 million, and we were linked with him a couple of years ago.
So that's your Mahrez. Ultimately, that's taking the Mahrez.
That's your Mahrez replacement.
I'm surprised they didn't get any criticism for that. Like with Man U with the Højlund thing. Doku scored 6 goals last year, and they paid nearly 60 mil, and no one really mentions anything. I think it's because it's. I
think he's a £40 million player. I do think he's about £15 million overpaid for. But
it just seems like they never get criticism, and I get it because generally their signings do well. But it's just like you paid 60 million quid for someone who scored 6 goals, and
I think when you
played a lot of minutes as well.
I always think when you're reigning champions, you get away with a bit more. To be honest,
yeah, you do.
You give it a bit more credit, and they've also been after Nunes, who was Liverpool last year. They've had a £47 million bid.
It's got to take a lot more than that to get him.
This late in the window, yeah, because they wanted the lad from West Ham, didn't they? But due to off the field and issues, that fell through very, very quickly.
On Nunes, one thing I'd say on Nunes is it's a deal that Wolves probably wouldn't mind doing for a good fee, because they do need to spend money, and they haven't been able to this window so far.
Yeah,
so I think there's a sweet spot there for him.
Yeah, they're FFP knackered, aren't they?
Yeah. There was a surprise one as well yesterday that went through. Loan move. Gonzalo Montiel from Seville to Nottingham Forest. World Cup winner.
Hero.
Left back, Nottingham Forest getting him in on loan for a season. I mean, that's a clever bit of business. And the other one I thought was a bit, nothing to see here. Lewis Hall going from Chelsea to Newcastle on loan with an obligation to buy
they got that
next
much
year.
For him.
What
was it, like 35, 40
It's
million?
nice having friends in football, isn't it?
It's mental money. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Just take the money out of this hand and put it into this hand, and the books all even out at the end of the day.
Allegedly, we'll just put that in there so we're all right. So in terms of, I mean, look, Kev, was last couple minutes. Do you expect Liverpool to do anything more before the window shuts?
Yeah, I think we'll get one in. I think we'll get one in, and I wouldn't be surprised if when the window closes, a deal for Andre is announced for January. I would be very surprised if that doesn't happen. I can definitely see the reasons why Fluminense don't want to sell him. You know, they're on the verge of they're winning the Brazilian league, and they're favourites to win the Copa Libertadores. So, and he's already plus the Fluminense manager is currently in charge of the Brazil squad, and he's picking him for Brazil as well. So
also, he's played nearly 40 games already. So what you don't want, 40 games season,
exactly
come straight into Liverpool in now, and then you're going right kicking. You're asking for a burnout or injury, but at least in January he's had his summer break. You know, and he can get speed. Yeah. Basically, what City did with Alvarez.
Exactly. I can see that kind of a deal happening for him, and I think it's literally planning for Thiago going next summer. I agree with what Keith was saying on Fatback 4 recently about that, but I can definitely see us doing one. Who that one is, Gravenberch wouldn't be out of the way. I think it'll be more of a box-to-box type of midfielder. I think they're not going to go in and bring in another 6 when you've got Endo and Bajcetic to rotate in. We're only going to play with one.
Or someone you think, or someone they think they can mold into a 6 over time.
Over time, yeah. But I think with Gravenberch, you can use him in a variety of roles. Or maybe they go back for Thuram. You know, someone like that. But I definitely think we'll be in for one. But unless we get an exit, I don't think it'll be more than that.
Yeah, Matt, I'll give you a scenario. You tell me if things work. You say so. This is a bit of fun FIFA chat. Liverpool get Gravenberch, who we don't have to register because of his age, and they get him Manu Kone, but we don't do anything with defence and take the risk of just fucking hope they stay fit. You all right with that? Or would you rather do a Gravenberch and hope they find a way of getting a defender?
I don't think that we need two more if you're going to bring 2 midfielders in, I think one of them almost certainly would have to be a specialist 6. I mean, yeah, you can bring Gravenberch in and he doesn't need to be registered for the Premier League games, but he needs to be registered for the Europa League games. So people need to start we still got these spots left. I believe now with the signing of Endo, if you include Ben Doak in your Europa League squad, we're all full. We're full. Unless it's a homegrown player or a foreign player that's been in the FA system for a few years and they're under the age of 21, then that would be okay. Like Lavio had his requisite years in at the City Academy, so he counts as homegrown. So he would have slotted in to a Europa League side. But a guy like Ben Doak with only 1 year does not. So I think we're going to get a defender. I think we're going to get a defender kind of out of the blue. I think Jerry from our Telegram chat might have his dream come true with Piero Hincapié from Leverkusen. No, Kev disagrees with me. It's
not a hope in hell are we ever dealing with that agent again. If he sacks his agent, then maybe. But other than that, we're never dealing with Sierra ever again. And I wouldn't want to.
Money cures all hurt feelings, Kev, in this world.
Yeah, look at the money he asked for. And in 2 years' time, he'll be pimping him somewhere else. No thanks.
That's fine. And then we sell the player in 2 years' time. I don't think Piero Hincapié is of a Levi Colwill level. I think he's exactly the type of player where if he's got an agent that wants to get him a move to Real Madrid or Barcelona for a huge amount of money, fine. We got to be okay with letting our players get sold as long as they're not the key cornerstones of our team. Like there's certain players you put under lock and key, Trent, Alisson, Virgil, Mo Salah. Other than that, we have to be okay with some of our players getting sold or else you end up with squad bloat like we had in the past few years. So, no, I'm going to say no to your proposal, Chris. I think we got to get a defender in.
Paul Giovanni said, just don't register Adrian for the Europa League.
This is true.
How often do you use a third choice keeper in Europa League? pretty.
Well, that's called
pretty
tempting
rare.
fate right there, Chris. That's called tempting fate.
That's-
I
that's
can
the
bring
best
a
way-
Peter Luga.
That's the best way to live, mate.
Yeah, but I think Olympia is going to absolutely thump Fluminense tonight, 6 or 7-0, something like that, and he's going to have his bags packed at the sideline. And he's going to be like, "I'm out of here," and he's going to go. But no, I really think that's a deal that needs to get done. I think that Andre deal needs to get done. I can't wait to watch.
I was going to say one thing on Paul's comment. One thing on Paul's comment there. They've been putting out Petluga in front of the media and letting him do interviews a bit more. That kind of surprised me. So the idea that they would use Petluga as a number 3, who's homegrown, club grown, is that's not a bad shout, to be honest. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on that one.
I'm like a broken clock, mate. Eventually one of them sticks.
Should be an ITK.
No. It takes a lot of time and effort to make all that stuff up, and I couldn't be bothered with the energy. But so go on then, Matt. Give us a name. Who's coming in? ITK, Matt. Come on.
I think you're going to get Hincape and a January deal for Andre, and we ride like this in weeks. Then go back and get Manu Kone.
My money's on Kone and Gravenberch, and then we just go, fuck it, let's see what happens. And I think we bin someone off in January. But we will see. I'll be surprised we don't sign one more. I think two at this point is just a bit living in hope.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
We will see. We will see. Right, before we go, anything else anyone else add? Kevs?
Yeah, I want just quick. What do you think with Newcastle this weekend? Just quick win, draw, loss. How do you see it going? Just a quick one for the two lads above.
Win.
Who's at
Win.
home?
Of course, a win.
We're away.
Oh,
We beat them last year, but they were down to 10 men after 20 odd minutes.
yeah, I'll
But
take
they
it.
created.
I'll take them.
I'd take a draw. I'll take a draw. I said before when the season kicked off, get a draw at Chelsea, draw at Newcastle, win your 2 home games. That's a perfectly fine start to the season and go from there. I think they've got.
Yeah.
I also think they had no Bruno Grimares in the game we played as well, which I think is a big hole. The only thing they're missing is they are missing Joe Linton, so it does take a bit of energy out of their side. So I'd love a win, but I'm more than happy with a draw at Newcastle. What are you going with, Mr. O'Sullivan?
It'll be a cracking game. It'll be a cracking game for sure. It's definitely one worth watching. Kev, you're away at Forest. What are you expecting out of that one?
If we don't win, then I might just go cry for the week. We need to win that one. I was quite looking forward to it initially because there was rumours Højlund might be back, but he's not back. So we've got Rashford up front again, who just stares and doesn't know where he's at. So
It looks like Luke Shaw's out for a few weeks as well, doesn't it?
yeah, and Malassi is out, and Kobe Mainoo's out still. We've just got we've got loads of injuries, and I'm just having a great time. So looking forward to hoping to win and probably drawing. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll win.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for sure.
Matt, before we go, anything you want to leave, or do we leave on that happy note of Man United being very upset because they got lots of injuries?
I mean, that's not a bad place to leave it. I think Wolves Everton is going to be a bonkers game this weekend. I think that could be one of those ones you expect to be a 0-0 and ends up being 5-3 or something like that, because that's just madness. So
I'd say if Wolves score early, that ground's going to be toxic.
The away fans were leaving on 50 minutes last weekend. So let's see if the home fans can beat that.
It's early in the season, but if you're Sean Dyche, that's where you worry, because if the away support starts to just be disinterested, you can run that hiding off. And I think the problem is if they blame the manager and they get rid of the manager, fuck knows what they bring in.
Frank. It's obviously Frank. It'll only ever always be Frank Lampard from now on.
It worked last time, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what they get for mistreating and absolutely throwing Rafa Benitez under the bus. So good for him.
Cracking that. Right, on that happy note, we'll let everyone go. So shows the rest of the week. I don't think we've got anything tomorrow. And then we've got post-match on Sunday with
post-match Sunday.
Is it me and you, Matt?
Well, I'm planning on doing it. So
yeah,
I think
it's me and you. Lucky you.
Right.
Yeah. And then we have Fatback 4 Sunday evening, and then the whole cycle starts again. We're giving Kev a week off because
yes,
he needs a break.
I got my youngest has got her exam results coming tomorrow, so it's going to be a nervous household tonight.
Kevin McGuinness.
Yeah, something along those lines.
So, listen, Peter Kev, thanks for coming on, mate. We'll
I
no doubt have you on
appreciate it.
again during the season.
I always enjoy it.
Good. Mr. O'Sullivan, I will no doubt speak to you in about 10 minutes and we'll be on another show. And Matt, I'll see you Sunday.
See ya.
Until then, guys, thanks for watching. Speak to you all very, very soon.